He's telling you go. He's telling you go, and you say
Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
7 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
It's 7 o'clock somewhere. It's now 7 o'clock here. Is that better? Okay. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the January 4th, 2017 regularly scheduled meeting of the Wareham School Committee. As is our custom, this meeting is being broadcast live on WCTV, and we have an audio recording being done by our recording secretary, Miss Ruiz. And before we get going with anything else, I want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. I hope for all of you it is a healthy, happy, prosperous 2017. So, first thing on our agenda is public participation. If anybody would like to speak to the committee, speak now or forever hold your peace. Seeing no takers, let's move on to good news. Yes, ma'am.
So the Wareham High School DECA goes to districts tomorrow, so wish them good luck at
Good
the
luck.
Quincy Marriott Hotel. It should be a lot of fun.
Sounds great. Good luck. Mr. Sweat.
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Mary?
nothing right now.
Cliff?
Well set.
We're all set. School's open again. That's good news. Okay, if we can go to the minutes of December 21st.
Move approval?
Second.
Any omissions, corrections? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 500, thank you. And now, we would like, Mrs. Manning, you're up.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I think you heard a lot of buzz in the room when you came in. That's because there's a lot of excitement here. The Global Education team is here to present about some of the innovative initiatives that are going on in Wareham Public Schools in Global Ed, and we're thrilled to be here. So thank you for your invitation, and let's get started. We have a lot to cover. We have a lot of countries that we work with, a lot of sister schools that we have relationships with, and we can't touch on them all tonight, but we'll do as many as we can. At this time, I'd like to first start by asking all the members of the Global Education team. We have students here, parents, teachers, administrators, community members, and a couple folks on the way as well, people who are involved in our Global Ed team, if they could please stand and be recognized for the work that they do in Global Ed in Wareham. Global education is not something new. It's something that's been emphasized in public education for half a century. And in the Wareham Public Schools, about 15 years ago, the Global Ed program started here. But the world has changed so much in the past 15 years, and certainly in the past 50 years. Technology, medical advances, new jobs being created, and new jobs continue to emerge and will continue doing so. Jobs that our students will have don't even exist yet. All of these changes have only increased the importance of global education for students, and it has been and will continue to be about providing for our students opportunities and experiences for them to achieve long-term success. The very nature of global education is about building cultural competence, promoting tolerance, international awareness, and arguably it's the solution to many world crises we face today. In addition, global education is essential to prepare our students for working and living in a rapidly changing, global, diverse economy. The president of the NEA, the National Education Association, among other top educational professionals and researchers, advocate for increased global education in every classroom in America. The words that they use when they talk about global education are urgent, urgency, crisis, imperative, essential. And all the research around global education, it's very clear that in order for our students to be able to compete in a global economy that they will face, they need to be taught through global education. Studies also show a direct correlation between global education and academic success. While basic workforce skills are important in American public schools, the leading researchers advocate that a paradigm shift is essential that focuses on global education in order to give students the opportunity to succeed. Just some examples. In the 1990s, there were 7,000 international jobs. Now there are over 100,000 international companies. 508 million people speak English, with over 1 billion Chinese speakers in the world. In Europe, 90% of students are bilingual, if not multilingual. A recent National Geographic survey that was conducted lists that 90% of students surveyed agreed that a strong background in global education would be critical to help them solve world problems and become critical thinkers, with 60% of those students ranking global education as the #1 important subject area for their success. Our global education program in Wareham, we talk about critical world issues such as poverty, global warming, access to clean water, and countless other issues. In Wareham Public Schools, we currently have sister school relationships with 11 schools across 3 continents. Students and families are forming bonds with students and families across the world. There's collaboration that's happening teacher to teacher, continent to continent. And although most school districts have global education programs, Wareham Public Schools has emerged as a leader in recent years in this field. WPS belongs to a global education consortium on the Cape Cod and Islands, and it's comprised of all public schools in the Cape and Islands and Cape area, which includes Wareham. And Wareham serves as one of 2 models for excellence in global education. And we have been chosen as a site visit school, so we've had leaders from public schools in the Cape and Islands come and visit us during our exchange program with the hopes that they can replicate what a productive exchange program looks like. So tonight, students, teachers, community members on our global education team will highlight 4 of the countries where we have sister school relationships and how it has impacted their teaching, their learning, and their citizenship. So first up, I have the 2 new club advisors for the Middle School Global Ambassadors Club and the High School Global Ambassadors Club, Mr. Nicole Stahmer and Colonel Matt Stanton.
Sure. So, my name's Nicole Stahmer. I am not just an educator within the town, but I am a lifelong citizen of this town, born and raised here. And I have happily raised my children and brought them up going to the Wareham Public Schools. So my children have benefited from the global education that they have gotten through Wareham Public Schools. They have experienced hosting students at our home, and they have chosen to go on to colleges that are very globally connected. My boys go to Mass Maritime, which allows them to see the world and connect with the world. And my daughter also wants to go and take classes over in Europe. So something that starts within the school trickles even beyond Wareham Public Schools. It stays with them. I am the middle school advisor, and although I am the advisor, the children do a lot of the guidance within the club that we have at the middle school. They are able to have leadership roles within their club. When students come from visiting schools, they are the children who do some of the planning for game nights, what games they'll bring, what they'll play, and interact with the children beyond our school day. so they have extra school with these students. They are also buddied up with them, and so they are able to build their leadership roles within the school. So they learn to communicate with these students, and they are able to tour around with them and show them the highlights of Wareham Public Schools. Beyond what they do with the exchange students, they also have expressed interest in the fact that thinking globally doesn't always mean that we think internationally. So they also have some areas where they would like to think about what we can do within our own country. So whether it be that they focus on hunger or homelessness within their own communities or within the entire United States. So there's lots of avenues that they think about when they're attending Global Ed Club at the end of the school day, where they stay beyond the school day. So it mixes in their school day and beyond. I think what we focus on within our club also is that the same thing we focus on during our school day is that a lot of the people that we don't like are people that we know nothing about. So being globally connected is about learning about people and being peace builders and learning how to create peacefulness within our own country and then also globally. And if we're gonna do one thing good, let's focus on being really good at being globally educated. So maybe sometimes other things fall by the wayside, but we're gonna be really good at knowing about what people are like in other countries and traditions and nationalities. And I think that's highly important.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Maureen said, my name is Mathew Stanton. Also the junior ROTC instructor at the high school. I feel very thankful for this opportunity to advise such an engaged and thoughtful student body as we have here at the high school in these global matters. Just to introduce the club officers that we have, Jordan Phillips is the president, Kali Fernandes is the vice president, she's sitting right here. We have Marquise Tavares as the secretary and Nick Dix as the treasurer. One of the first things the students felt they wanted to do was establish a clear mission statement for what we want to do in terms of global education at the high school. What they came up with was to create a community that values mutual respect and understanding. They want to promote global citizenship by engaging with the wider world. They want to do this in 3 ways. The first way is to continue active engagement with our sister schools, as we're doing next month with Cape Verde, and in the near future, actually the end of this month, with the Chinese students that are coming on the exchange program. They also want to accept and welcome students of all different backgrounds. And they want that to be more than words, but in actions within the high school. And thirdly, they want to promote global citizenship throughout the Wareham community. There's one highlight that I'd like to point out, in addition to the exchange programs. The students came up with this idea of a cultural awareness theme for the month. They've already identified some focuses. For this month, it will be the world religions. So during a week in this month, they're going to take on 5 different religions around the world. They're going to highlight those religions. They're going to get the student body engaged with a scavenger hunt for these religious symbols, and they're going to talk about them each morning during the morning announcements. And they're going to post flyers and posters around the school to raise that level of awareness for these religions. Other themes in the future will be global peace, Native American heritage, African American heritage, women in society. These are just a few that the students felt strongly about highlighting in our school. So that's what we plan to do. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt and Nicole. One of the first projects that the Wareham Public Schools Global Education team began with was about 14 or 15 years ago under the direction of then Curriculum Director Carol Wiley, and it was to establish a sister school in Cape Verde. Our community has deep roots in Cape Verde, and it was a natural place to start. So who better to talk about the historical perspective of the Global Education team, specifically with our sister school in Cape Verde, than a gentleman who was intricately involved with that. He's no longer with us as an employee of Wareham Public Schools, but he is a global education devotee and a community member, and he's going to lend some historical perspective to this. And with him tonight is the Vice President of the Global Ambassadors, Kali Fernandes, who's going to talk about Cape Verde. So, sorry, the man who needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyways, Mr. Henry St. Julien.
Hello. Who's first?
Welcome back.
Nice
I've
to
never
see you
left.
again, Mr. St.
I have
Julian.
never left. I'm right
Never
here.
left. I'm glad to hear that.
Never left.
How are things in Falmouth?
No, we're struggling, but we're recovering. So can I give a historic?
Please.
Okay, good.
Yes.
So I like to say that they get the old man for the historical stuff. So I guess I'm now old. So Wareham has had a long, rich history with global. It didn't start with, I don't know who it started with. It just long ago. We had a Cape Verdean curriculum that was made in the 90s. In 2004, we had the superintendent, Wayne Legou, with the principal of Wareham, which is John Amaral, that went down to Cape Verde. I think the thing that really touched me was there was an exchange where they brought some students in 2004, and what really got me was when Cape Verdean students, and they were from grade age, kindergarten all the way up to high school, when they were in contact with our schools and they were able to talk to one another. I got the bug, I got the itch. That was one of my favorite days of seeing that, and I said, okay, I'm in. Darcy Fernandez got all these individuals together. She was the leader of that whole leadership for many years. Even when she left this school, she kept on being a part of it, and I hope to be the same. I hope to continue that role as well. She got me in 2009, and we're educators from New Bedford as well as Wareham came in and started looking at Cape Verde. 2010, we went again. I'm just now looking at my notes here. And really, I love how they're already talking about the new mission statement, but we've always had this thing. Students need to think globally, have globally minded aspect to prepare themselves 21st century. And I always thought that was very important for us because we are in a different world. We need to make sure that we are globally invested. But since then, we started to broaden. We started going, okay, what's out besides the Cape Verde? And we had another superintendent, Rabinovich, went over to China. And I remember Skyping with him in China, our students here, and going, wow, this is a bigger world, and having him there and the global getting involved as well as there. 2010, earthquake, we're not alone. We need to help out. Our kids helped out with Red Cross supplies down over to Haiti. 2011, tsunami, Japan, we are there. You know, since 2012, Maureen comes in, and she's really huge in getting a lot of projects, but I think one of her biggest thing was the China. Chinese starting to come in here. We have exchange student with China. Taiwan Sister School, 2014. Sweden, we have our current superintendent going with us to Sweden and Finland and bridging even Scandinavia. I think my job is to show that we have a rich history of global education for many years. I love seeing this happening. I hope it continues, and I just make sure that you realize just the richness of that, and throughout. And I think the last meeting I was talking about is like, what areas do we need to hit? What are the other parts? Europe, more Africa, more Latin America, and I hope that continues. So that's my humble set. And you're the president now?
Vice President.
Vice? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm just,
Jordan's-
Jordan? Okay, good.
He's not here though.
All right.
Okay. I'm Kaylee. I think you guys know me. Okay. So this is my second year in the Global Club. My aunt is on actually Darcy Fernandes, and
Mentioned her.
yeah. My freshman year, she like told me to join the club, and I just like brushed it off because I wasn't really that interested. And then I remember like I was in his advisory, and I remember sitting in on one of the meetings, and I got so interested in it because everyone seemed so like excited about it, and I thought it was so cool that they like actually Skyped Cape Verdeans and other places. So I like got a need to like join the club. So last year I joined the club, and they were supposed to do a trip, but I was too late to do it. So, but then they'd moved it to this year, so I like got on it as soon as I could because I was very excited. I'm Cape Verdean, and I've never been out the country, and my aunt Darcy and my Nana, they go there all the time, so I like really wanted to go, so I hopped on the trip. And a lot of people, like Marquise, the secretary, and Jordan's going. A lot of people, students that are Cape Verdean are going, but also students that aren't are excited to go just to like expand their horizons and learn new things. So I think that's really exciting. And like, it was actually cool raising the money to go on the trip ourselves. That actually like taught us something because a lot of people like they're paying it out of their own pocket, not from their parents and stuff like me. So I had to learn how to save money and actually put it towards it, and not like buy the pair of shoes I wanted or whatever. So that was an interesting thing. And also like the banking aspect too, because we had to, it's international, so we had to like wire the money through, and that was a long process for me, and I finally got it. So like just skills like that before we even got on the trip we learned, and we still have to go, and I feel like it's like gonna be such an educational experience, and I'm gonna reconnect with my roots, and I'm very excited to go, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Both. And I have to say, when I told the team initially that we were invited to present, wondering who was available to come, we got quite a number of hands. And then as soon as I told them St. Jay was coming, then everybody wanted to come. So he was the big sell. So thank you very much. And it's
St.
great that it's
Julien,
community.
thank you.
Community committee.
Nice to
So
see you again.
we have community members on our team and parents. And so one community member is a native Swede, and she has a sister who teaches at an elementary. She's not here tonight, but she has a sister who teaches at an elementary school in Trollhättan, Sweden. And she connected us with her sister, and since then, teachers in different schools now in Wareham have connected with grade-alike teachers in Sweden. And we have a few teachers here tonight who got to teach in Sweden, and students who attended school in Sweden, and I'd like to invite them up just to say a few words tonight. So we have Mr. Joe Marcus, Mrs. Ellen Osborne, Ms. Nicole Stahmer, and a student, Madison Huff.
You go first.
Now you might want to be close.
So last year during our April vacation, gosh, it's already, time has passed so quickly. During our April vacation, myself and some students had gone over to Finland, Norway, and Sweden, and it was really an amazing experience. Having students along for, usually when I take my vacations, it's away from students, but to have them along, we created our own little family vacation. We actually named ourselves a new family name. It was pretty cool. And it was that part of it, an experience of learning about my students and seeing them I'm only a middle school teacher, so seeing the students and getting to reconnect with them, even though they had left and gone to high school, was really, it was precious to me. Because as a middle school teacher, a lot of times they move on and you just don't ever see them again. And from having even Maddie as a middle schooler and then getting to spend that time with her back again, that is something that I can't even put a price on. It was priceless to me. So thank you, Maddie, and the other kids for that experience. As for the teaching aspect, that started way before the vacation, or the trip, as you would call it, even got underway. We connected with teachers, and we emailed, and we talked about lesson plans that we would share. When I did finally get over and was enamored with the bicycles lined up outside of a school in Sweden, that they all rode their bicycles to school and walked to school. They don't have the public transportation that we have. And then to go inside the school and listen to them, and they're speaking English and they're speaking in their language, and that was amazing to me, to just for my ears to pick up on that and notice that they are so well educated and they carry themselves so well. And then to get an opportunity to teach them totally blew me away. And it made me rethink of how I teach. I think sometimes we are so focused on standards. We go by frameworks, we go by state standards, we go by national standards. What about international standards? When I give my students, I'm a PE teacher, when I take them outside and I say run the mile, they go, oh, Miss Stahmer, the mile, that's a really long way. When we ran a 5K over in Sweden with the kids from our sister school, the kids in Sweden ran a 5K like it was nothing. And our students were still kind of like, wow, we're doing more than a mile. So for me, it started to make me rethink about how I teach, and that maybe we need to stop putting limits on them and let them, maybe push them to do more than what we think the national limit is. Maybe let's start looking beyond and seeing what other schools internationally are doing. Maybe our kids are way more capable than we give them credit for. And so I have done that with my students after school, and we've started to do that during school. And that all came from these simple collaborations that I had from a teacher over in a school a whole other country away. And then we go to the school board and we listen to them, and they also have a different way of doing things that is unlike what we do. And they look at us and they kind of say, what are you doing over there? And so it opens up our minds to say, why can't Wareham do it different? Why can't we? So I think everybody on our global team, that's what we're saying. We're saying we want to do it globally and we want to do it differently. And so going and experiencing these trips lets us experience that, and then lets us come and be better teachers. So that's what I get out of it.
Okay, I would like to start by saying that I had no intention of going to Scandinavia. I never thought I would ever go. But 2 months before the trip, Mr. St. Julien was begging people to go because they didn't have enough people. And I begged my mom, like, please just let me go. But it wasn't cheap. But eventually I got her to be on board with it, and me and my mom ended up going. And I am so thankful for that. It truly opened doors in global education, and it was a lifetime, once-in-a-lifetime experience. The first time I actually heard from my school buddy was when I was in Florida at Disney, and I was way more concerned about sending the perfect email to her so she would think I was like the coolest person ever than like paying attention to the rides. And we talked for a while, and we're still in contact, and it's just amazing to be able to say I have a friend that lives in Sweden. Like, not many people can say that. When we actually visited the schools, it was really eye-opening to see how different they teach and their school environment is. There was a couch just like in the middle of the school, like that people could sit in. It wasn't even like the teacher's lounge. There was like, it was just like a very like open environment. Everyone seemed really close, and like Ms. Stahmer said, it makes you like think of like how different the two, like we are and they are, and it was really amazing, and I wouldn't change going there, like ever. It was fantastic. Oh yeah, and before I went, since it was so expensive, I did a work study program for Mrs. Fondulis at CARE, and I got to go to Deaconess every day. Oh, and Miss Stahmer was there. And I got to work with the kids, which was it was amazing as well. And I actually worked over the summer too, because I couldn't get enough of them. And that's all I have to say.
Oh, go for it. Sure, sure.
I just wanted to say about what Maddie just said about you had friends in Sweden and then you had to meet them. I was there the day that they met their friends from Sweden for the first time. And I'm telling you, it gave me goosebumps because they were like a little bit shy about looking at each other, and then they said, "Are you the person? Are you the person?" And then they gave each other a hug, and it was like, oh my God. And also something that Nicole had said about being peacemakers. I didn't want to forget to echo that. And also the other gentleman, what's his name, Nick, from the high school now. He had said something too about respect. Matt, about respect and being peacemakers, because it just broadens your mind and it makes you understand people from another point of view. But I went on the trip to Cape Verde 4 years ago, I think it was. That was wonderful. Oh my goodness, if you ever get the chance to do it, you will never want of anything once you're there, because the people will take care of you. I mean, we're treated like celebrities. They had, a great big, we were walking up the stairs of the high school and they gave us flowers, and everything was just so beautiful. But anyway, I mostly wanted to talk about my impressions of Sweden and Finland and Norway. When I first went there, I imagined when we got off the plane I was going to see a bunch of people with blonde hair and fair-skinned, and Norway was very, very diverse, and that was a big shock to me. There's a big Pakistani group there, a neighborhood community, and that was a big surprise to me. And the other thing that I thought was surprising was that the people of the area, sorry, I no recall, but embraced those people. They had a turban celebration. People were lined up along the block, around the block. And then we were passing by in the bus, and we could see these great big long turbans. When you unwrap them, they're really long. And people were wearing them, and they were really happy to be wearing them. And I just thought, whoever the people in the city, it was Oslo, who organized that, they were thinking in their minds, we have these people here. We're going to embrace this whole culture, this whole, these people. And I thought that was really interesting, that sort of theory of all for one and one for all. I saw it in Sweden, I saw it in Finland too, where in the Swedish schools, a teacher told me, I don't know how true this is, but it was told to me that teachers were encouraged to do things that they weren't necessarily mandated or told to do things. So they were strongly encouraged, but they were encouraged rather so that it would come from them that they had done something, whatever it was. And also, all right, so and the other thing was too, they sort of foster independence with the kids. So like in the phys ed class, we watched the kids play this game. It looked like a tag or something. But the way the kids had to play the tag was they had to get into groups, and so somebody was laying on a mat or something, and two other kids had to get together and lift the child up onto the mat. And I thought, oh my God, what cooperation and how together they were to do that game. I'm not saying it completely the way it was. There was that, and then just the idea of, was it Matt, right, who was describing the learning about religions. When we went to Finland, they had said that in high school, they teach religion. They teach different religions as a class. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is so different from separation of church and state. And but they said that it works out, and that they said that it actually makes people get along better. And I mean, isn't that the most important thing that we need to do in education, is to get along? Because once the kids get along with each other, then you can just give them whatever. because they're ready to learn, that we don't have to stop for all these little things that people are intolerant about and all of this, So, so those were the big takeaways that I had. But mostly, you just can't learn this stuff from a textbook. You really have to be there, and you really have to experience it and know the culture and how it affects the education. And also, one more thing, I did not feel like a tourist. And I've gone on trips before, and I was a tourist. But when you go into a school and you see the way the kids are, and you get invited in there, and they show you the royal treatment, really, you just feel like you're part of the whole thing. You don't feel like a tourist. You feel like you're a part of the culture. So that was the big takeaway too. Making that connection with the schools ahead of time, Skyping with them, learning about the people before we even got there. Okay, that's it. Take it away.
Thank you. As you can see, folks, we are passionate about this. We could probably go all night, but I will try not to. A couple impressions that I had on our Scandinavian trip. I was fortunate enough to guest teach a few lessons while we were visiting our school in Trollhättan. Hopefully that's on. And I was very impressed. I was waxing a little poetic about my home city of Boston, the American Revolution, and how our country was born, and these kids were amazing. These are around 12-year-olds conducting a full-on conversation in English with me and discussing things from history to modern politics, since the presidential campaign was in full swing, to everything about the American way of life. And not only showed a great appreciation for a guest speaker who had invaded their classroom that day, but their appreciation for international understanding and cooperation was beyond impressive. I had the chance to meet the other fellow school administrators and discuss techniques that their school had used for intercontinental and international outreach, and it's some of the things that we're going to start pioneering in our own school. We're already expanding our reach and getting our name out there to our far-flung friends across the ocean. What really stood out for me as an educator and as a student was the opportunity to visit the Finnish Board of Education and to hear how their inclusive learning practices serve as the model that other countries are trying to emulate, and some of the things that we could definitely put in here. It's all student-centered. And as you can see, the students that are here, the staff members that are here, are all here because they really care. It is all about the kids when it comes to this. So we thank you for inviting us to come and speak about this tonight.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Watching our students travel together and band together as we, traverse 3 capitals, 2 oceans, well, 1 ocean twice, covering about 10,000 miles of distance, shows that travel can be stressful, but it does often bring out the best in people. Their enthusiasm for discovery and the friends that they've made on their trips are the ultimate goals of our organization, and these are relationships that will most likely last a lifetime. As someone who went on similar exchanges in high school and still stay in touch and travel frequently to visit these people in Europe, it is a powerful force. It has changed my impression on international education and relations, and I'm hoping it will do the same for the kids. What Mrs. Manning and my fellow colleagues in Global Ed have done since I joined last year, and again, this is only my 2nd year here, is impressive in its scope and its delivery. The voyages that are taking place, the exchanges that we've done, and the expanding reach that we have had to all these people around the world truly live up to these ideals of global education. However, none of this would be possible without our students. It is their drive that keeps us going, and their desire to better their worldly views in the process. We do this for them. But let me close by saying that current world events have highlighted the increasing importance of promoting international relationships, cultural appreciation, and the motivation to extend a hand in both friendship and scholarship all over the world. Our organization is growing, and we show no signs of stopping. So we thank you for your support.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maddie. So next stop on our world tour here is China. We've developed a robust relationship with China over the past 2 years. We've participated in 6 exchange visits as hosts and 4 as guests. In the Chinese culture, reciprocity is extremely important. They want to see that we are as equally invested in an exchange as they are. Another school tradition in the Chinese culture is a signing ceremony. Schools in China, when working with a sister school, enjoy having a signing ceremony where principals will get together and sign a memorandum of understanding, not an MOA, but a non-legally binding MOU, which is a statement or intent of good faith to promote global education in both countries. So with relations with our Chinese sister school, we collaborate with 2 different organizations, Boston Wise and Boston Ivy. And we happen to have 2 representatives from Boston Ivy here with us tonight, the Boston Ivy Director of Global Education, Mrs. Wendy Wu, and the former Needham Principal, Mike Schwinden, who is a leader in global education, not just in Massachusetts, but across the world. So Wendy and Mike, could you come down, please?
Thank you for having us here. I'm a non-native speaker, so bear with me if I talk slowly. The collaboration between Boston Ivy and the Wareham Public Schools started in October 2015. Over last year, we have done 3 levels of collaboration. At student levels, we brought elementary school students and middle school students come to visit Wareham schools for a short period of time. They do homestays, and they go into the actual classroom to study. And at the high school levels, we brought high school students to attend the summer camp at the summertime. What I find from all these students, I see a different spark. They've learned a different culture. They immersed into a very different culture. And interesting enough, when I went back to China, I have reunions with those students who visit Wareham. I said, what you have learned? They say, American students, they are not that different, but they are different. Because the one student say, I had an argument with my host family, not a fight, but an argument. The argument is my host family host student asked me, why you don't put your eye color in the form? I said, haha, that's all black, you don't know that? They learn from each other. They learn different culture from very little things, and they form a very long-lasting global network from very early age. That's something amazing. And the second level is teachers exchange. We brought teachers from Wareham to China to teach professional development to Chinese teachers. Great help. The Chinese English teachers, they used to teach big classes, 40 students, no chance to do group work. But our teachers from Wareham, taught them how important it is to do group work, how to do that. And now I think still a lot of Chinese teachers asking us, could you bring those teachers back? We really want them to visit our classroom, actual classroom, to co-teach with us. And when I come back here to the US, I talked to the teachers who taught this PD in China. And they said, surprisingly, I've learned from those Chinese teachers as well. I've learned how they can accept day-to-day life to teach these big classrooms. And when I teach PD, everything I ask them to do, they will do it, follow exactly the directions. So the teachers, they learn from each other as well. And every time we brought groups to visit Wareham, the Chinese groups who visit Wareham, we asked the Chinese teachers to bring a lesson to teach Wareham students. And we also asked them to bring questions so they can come to exchange their experience with the Wareham teachers, so more teachers can learn from them, can touch the culture. And the last level is administrative level. We brought principals, superintendent, committee member to visit China. This is very important because now the administrative from 2 different countries, they can sit together at one table, talk about the goals, what they want to do, how they want to cooperate to make the students or education better in both countries. So I don't need to be a telephone, or the communication doesn't have to through me or through any internet. They can sit down, talk to each other directly, which is very, very important. I think that's all I want to say. And one more thing, before I came here, my daughter was doing a painting. She put a red color down, and then she put another layer as a yellow color, and 2 colors mixed together and made a beautiful orange. Suddenly I thought, we put those two cultures together. We are not just putting them together. We are making something new, something beautiful. So I'm really thank you for everyone here to give my organization this opportunity to create something beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Mr. Chair,
Good evening.
members of the school committee, superintendent, I'm very honored to be here. As a 4th generation Montana farm boy, I hope you'll forgive me for not knowing Wareham from Wenham from Walpole. But I have to say, since April, everything that I've learned about Wareham, including what I heard here tonight, convinces me that this is truly a jewel of a community and a school committee and a school district. The students who go to this school, in your elementary school, your high school, they are so fortunate that you are so progressive and thoughtful in your approach to the future. You know, tonight I was sitting up there and I read the first line of your missions. I assume that's your mission statement. Learning today to navigate the world tomorrow. That's so profound, and it speaks volumes to the commitment of this school district to the children and their future. Now, I'm almost 69 years old, and I've got 3 children that are under 30. And I know that my children and grandchildren will grow up in a world, in a future that I will not live to see. But the kinds of things that you're doing here, the pioneering work that Wareham is doing, with all of these exchanges, and sending these teachers and kids all over the globe, makes me hopeful and confident that my kids, that future will be a better future, a peaceful future. You know, last April I was in Beijing with Maureen and your superintendent, some other administrators, and I brought over with me to that, we just happened to coincide, we were there at the same time. I had 22 students from Needham, 4th to 6th grade students who were part of what we called a reverse exchange. I had to cut the number off at 22 because after 6 years of exchange programs in Needham, there was so much interest in hosting, and the hosting experiences had been so successful that so many families wanted to travel to our sister school and our sister school district. In the end, there were 55 of us from Needham that went. Our town manager signed an MOU with the mayor of Dashing. Our superintendent signed an MOU, as your superintendent did, with the superintendent in Dashing. And at one point, we were invited by the ambassador of the U.S. ambassador to China to a reception that was hosted by his wife. And one of the things that I remember her, Melanie Haynes is her name, saying, and this was reinforced by the ambassador's chief of staff. She said, in the next 50 years and in the next 100 years, there's no more important relationship between 2 countries than between the United States and China. And later that day, I was at a meeting with, where your superintendent and other administrators were meeting with administrators from Beijing, school administrators. And I was so impressed at how thoughtful and diplomatic your superintendent and your administrators conversed with their Chinese counterparts. I think you people really have a reason to be proud here. And I just want to say again how important it is that you continue to support the kinds of programs that bring the children of the world together. I don't have to tell you that it's their future that's on the line here. And certainly, those of you up there, with one exception, can remember that in our lifetime, the two countries didn't even recognize each other. And that all turned around because of an American ping pong team and an American ping pong player who missed a bus. And here we are today exchanging ideas, exchanging students, exchanging teaching methods, and really coming together and learning from each other and appreciating and understanding each other. So congratulations, Wareham. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here.
We have a couple of those students who went to China here with us tonight. Maddie, Huff, and Elizabeth Ruiz went to school in China. They received scholarship from Boston Wise organization, and they got to spend time with their school buddies in China, and they're going to talk about that.
Before you continue, I would like very much to hear from these two students, and after that, I know that the members of this committee are sitting here chomping at the bit to ask some questions and make some comments, so after this, I think I would like to open up questions and comments from the committee.
Hello, I'm Lizzie Ruiz, and I was one of the students that went to China. It was a really amazing experience. We got to experience how they live and how they go to school and how they do everything. And it was really interesting to get to meet different Chinese students that were our age that went to different schools and to see how the different schools were run in comparison to ours. Most of the schools that we visited were boarding schools, so they would live there throughout the week. Some of them would go home on the weekends if their families lived nearby, but otherwise they would just live there. And these dorms, they weren't like the best of conditions, but they didn't seem to complain that much. They were very content with what they had and what they were given, which was really good to see because we don't see a lot of that here. A lot of people, they always want more and they want more, but not that many people just take a minute and realize what they have and are thankful for it. I'm really thankful for the trip and the opportunity to go because this was my first time out of the country, and it was definitely the best first experience that I could have. I got to travel to 3 different countries with Mrs. Manning and Dr. Shaverhood, along with 3 of my best friends, and it was just a really good experience. I had a shadow on one of the trips that the Chinese students took here, and his name was Curry. He was really cool, and so I had him follow me around for 2 weeks, and then when we went over to China, the school that he goes to was one of the ones that we went to. So I got to go and see him again and shadow him instead. And it was a really cool experience to see how less shy the students are when we're in their own environment. It was kind of a good role reversal. It was really interesting to see their perspective of when they came here and to see all the different experiences that they have compared to us. So, yeah.
Thank you.
My first exposure to our school's Chinese exchange program was once again due to Mr. St. Julien, who needed some hosting families for the students that were coming last April. And it took a lot of convincing, but I got my family to approve, and we were able to host a girl named ABC. The first time I met her, I was terrified that these 2 weeks were going to be totally awkward and that we weren't going to have anything in common. And we didn't have a lot in common, but that didn't really matter because sisters don't have to have a lot in common. And she is sincerely my sister now. She is part of the family. I talk to her, I see her on social media, and I'm going to see her again. Sadly, when we went to China, she was at school in Scotland, and I couldn't see her. I know. I was in China, and I couldn't see my Chinese sister. But I had another student stay for me for a weekend when my friend was away for a church retreat and needed somewhere for this girl to go. And her name was Ella, and I was able to see her at her school, and we even went out for a night. And I have to say, that is the most amazing experience, to see someone that, like, you never thought you would see again. I never thought that I would be going to China to see Ella. And surprisingly, she's going to be coming to New York in a few months, and I might be seeing her again then, which is, I'm super excited.
That's great.
But this was a completely mind-boggling experience. You really don't know what it's like to be on the other side of the world until you've actually been there. It's totally different. The food, the people, the culture, it's amazing. And being a part of global education and getting to go on these trips has truly shaped the person I am. If you had asked me 2 years ago what I wanted to do, where I saw myself in a few years, I would have no idea. But now I still am not sure what I want to do, but I at least have some direction, and I owe it to global education for exposing me to all these different countries and these different people and these different avenues that my life could go on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very well put.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, do you have more presentations?
Yes, a few. Two with China. There's a student
I know
speak
that
about
the members of this board are chomping at the bit to ask some questions and to make some comments, and I think I would like to do that at this point, if it's all right with you, and then see if we can kind of wrap it up. Okay? I assume we all have something that we want to say here? I'm going to start over here, if it's all right with you. Mary.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So first of all, I want to say that I understand the value of having relationships with other countries. I was an exchange student myself when I was in high school. I went over to Germany. I had a German at my house. I certainly am in favor of these relationships, but I think what I'm concerned about is that the China one is not a traditional exchange program. From what I understand, we get a stipend for students that come over. Is that correct?
The host families receive a stipend for food of
Okay.
$125 per week per student, the host family.
Okay, so the school system receives no money?
No, the 4 girls received a full scholarship.
Okay, and how were they chosen?
They were selected, it was a rigorous process. They were selected first and recommended by their teachers, their advisors, vetted by the principal, and then interviewed by the principal, and then sent over here for a final interview.
Okay.
Yep.
And then my other question is about staff members, teachers going over, administrators going over, a committee member going over as well. And as far as I know, that was done at the expense of China and not on us.
That's correct, yes. It was the sister schools, at the sister schools' invitation and on
And
their
they
expense.
paid for it.
On their expense,
Which
yeah.
I find extremely unusual. I mean, in the other cases, everybody was paying for their own trip to go over, say, to Finland or to Cape Verde and whatnot.
And I think
so
that's part of the cultural piece, too, that Wendy was talking about, that global education is so important to them that it is in their district's budget to have these programs, to send their kids over and then to bring people over.
And so what exactly was stated in the memorandum? I mean, what was exactly agreed upon?
So, Wendy, you have very much familiarity with the language of the memorandums of the agreement, memorandums of understanding that the 2 schools will work together as partners non-legally binding and non-exclusive partners?
Right. In the MOU, there's the only thing appears on MOU is we have regular annual visit to show the sister school relationship, and the visit including the teachers exchange, student exchange, and the administrative exchange. And in that document, we also talk about the potential possibility to start a curriculum cooperation that can benefit both schools. And other than that, I don't think there's anything else in that MOU.
Okay, thank you. Just 2 more questions. I promise to be quick. The other question is, how were the staff members chosen to go over?
So all staff members had an opportunity to apply via email WPS staff, and they applied through their application. Their resume was sent to Boston Ivy, and they had, well, I don't want to speak for you, but they were interviewed by Boston Ivy and selected.
Right.
Based on the needs of the program of the summer camp.
Right, right.
Yeah, during their, the first 2 weeks during their summer vacation.
Okay. And I had one more, and I forget what it was.
You're too young for
That's
that
all
kind of
right, I know.
forgetfulness.
You work all day, you forget. I think there was one question. The other question I had was, do we have any sort of international policy that, so when we do these type of agreements that, you know, we have some sort of policy on it?
There's no policy in the policy handbook about around this.
I'm wondering if maybe we should, because when I consulted with the Massachusetts School Committee, he indicated that, you know, it might be a good idea to have some sort of policy on that. All right, thank you.
Now, that would be something that you could propose a policy review. Then it would come to us.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess that's it for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cliff?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd just like to talk about that memorandum. As far as I understood, because I was there, that is ceremonial. It's a ceremonial agreement, not a legally binding document. It's part of the culture, and like a tea ceremony would be part of the culture. It's something ceremonial. It's not clandestine. It's not legally binding. It's purely part of the Chinese culture and ceremonial to have something like that.
So I don't mean to be rude.
I was just trying to clear it.
No, I know.
Oh,
I don't
just-
mean to be
no,
rude or
clear it.
disrespectful.
No,
Can I
it's
just
okay.
ask her one
We're-
question, please?
Absolutely.
Okay, so how
We're
were you-
okay.
And I'm jealous. How were you chosen to go on the trip?
I don't know, just had a...
Oh, is Wendy still here? Because
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
The question again, how
How
Judy
was-
was chosen?
yes.
Oh, Judy. At the end of every exchange, we have a pizza party. What I can remember is that Judy is the only committee member. I don't know if that's true, but that's the
yeah, I
only
think
committee
that's
member that I remember
should've gone to that
come.
pizza
Oh, I remember to attend that party and always sit next to me and talk to me, ask me about the exchange experience, from each group. So I know her from that party.
Okay.
And after that, I learned that Judy developed an online class with for Chinese students. I thought it's very important for her to actually see a Chinese classroom that may benefit her for her class. That will also benefit Chinese kids, how the way she teach Chinese kids. That's why I think she is the best. I won't say best, is a good candidate to go.
I would also add that there are other schools, districts that bring their town administrator, bring other officials to the town, and certainly if opportunity arises that people in Wareham would be invited to come, any committee member would be welcome to come. So if you would like to go,
thank you.
brush up.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll keep it real brief because I'd like to hear the rest of the presentation. But I don't really have any questions. I just have a couple of comments as being the son of immigrant parents and being multicultural. Well, yeah, but my parents did come over on the boat.
Did all of our parents at one time or another?
I feel that we need to get as many students involved in global education as we possibly can for a variety of reasons. But I think primarily now, and I'm going to be a little political, I'm a little worried about the isolation attitude that we've got going on in this country from some people. And I think by exposing our young people to this global education program, that it's going to do an awful lot for bridging that isolationism and that discrimination about how we view the rest of the world. And I think that by exposing as many young people as possible to global education, it will do an awful lot to bridge that gap that I find widening in this country at this particular point in time. So I think it's important that we try to recruit as many students as we possibly can to participate in global education. I love the idea that you're going to go with the religious program, studying the world's religions, because again, I sense that there is a misunderstanding by an awful lot of people in our country about religious doctrine and not understanding religious doctrine, and there's a growing discrimination in terms of religious bigotry. So I applaud what you're doing, but finally, I think there is a natural tie. I think there is a natural tie between global education and what you're trying to accomplish and increasing our commitment to foreign language education. Our European and Asian counterparts do it right. They start with multiple languages at a very young age. And there is a kind of an arrogance in America that we don't really start honestly teaching a full immersion language program, whether it be Chinese, Russian, or whatever, until they're in high school. These children should be getting language education at a very young age. And even though it's not mandated by the frameworks, you know, it is something that we should be committed to here in Wareham, because we are a multicultural society here in Wareham, and we've always been that. And I think by not emerging our young people in foreign language education at a very young age is a disservice to them. And also, why can't we set the standard in Massachusetts for teaching foreign language and teaching cultures of different countries? So I think there's a natural marriage and a natural tie between global education and foreign language education. So kudos to you. Keep it going. Do your recruitment. Get more kids involved, because I think we're going to need a more global understanding of our societies and our global societies. So, good job. Thank you.
Judy?
I just want to say, you know, thank you for everyone who presented tonight. It was, and ditto what Dr. Sylvia said. I myself, almost 50 years ago, was one of those exchange students. It changed my life. It changed my perspective. It had a profound effect on me. So, and I have a family who's married into many cultures: Chinese, Haitian, Trinidad, another one, Ghana. That's what the new generation is in my family. This is what all the children are, from being all Italian to all of that. So the world is global, and I applaud it, and I'm part of it, and we all are. Thank you.
Jeff?
I could spend the rest of the evening with the people in this room talking about your experiences, and I would find it extraordinarily enjoyable. Since the chair won't permit that, I just want to thank you, all of you, especially our guests, for the work that you're doing to distinguish Wareham as a community of people who are interested in other people and who are open to new ideas and realize the world is is very different, and we should be tolerant of many different kinds of people and ideas. I do have to ask a question. I thought I was going to be able to ask 2 students, but it looks like your buddy has abandoned you. You did mention that there were things that you learned that you wondered why they weren't done here, and even wondered why the school committee didn't function differently. Could you share those thoughts about how the schools here operate and how the school committee operates? I would love to hear that insight.
Well, the number one thing was already covered, the foreign language thing. In China, it's amazing. They started talking English when they were in kindergarten, which is younger than we start kindergarten, so you can only imagine how amazing that is. And even in Sweden, they started, I think, 3rd grade teaching English.
Formally.
Formally. But yeah, they've been exposed to it their entire lives, and it's just amazing how fluent they were and how I felt like really dumb because I couldn't speak another language. I mean, I know a little French, I guess. And the other thing is, in Sweden, it's just a entirely different environment. They are not caught up on tests and meeting standards, and they're really focused on learning and a family environment, which I think sometimes is just lost in America because we are so focused on those tests. And China is like us, I think, in that way. They're very test focused, and I think we need a medium between extremely relaxed like Sweden was and overly test focused like China is. I feel like
Wendy's laughing behind you.
it is very test focused. Trying to get into American universities, it's tough. I think just the globalization too is really a key factor in their schools. Like especially in Europe where you're surrounded by so many different countries, they went on school trips like not just like a few students, it was like the whole grade would go on trips to different countries. It's just a very different environment that they live in. And I think that's something that American schools should try to push more because I think it would make a big difference.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I have one more question. I'm sorry.
Of course.
So I understand that we're involved with 2 agencies now, Boston Ivy, and the other one is?
Boston Wise.
And why is that? Why are we involved with 2?
We don't have any exclusive agreement with either of them. Boston Wise is an organization very similar to Boston Ivy. They operate out of Stonehill College, and they asked if we wanted to have exchange programs, and we do. We're not
and they do the
exclusive with
same
anyone.
deal with
Same type of thing. Boston Wise is actually the organization that gives that $125. They're actually just starting it. That $125 stipends to family for the food per week. There is no stipend involved with Boston Ivy at all.
Okay. And
that's when
the Boston Y, you call it what?
Wise. Yeah,
Wise. So they're
SE.
also going to pay for staff to go over to China?
Well, not Boston Wise, but the school districts.
Okay.
Will pay for the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, not
All right.
Boston Wise themselves. But Boston Wise did pay for the full scholarship for the 4 students who were selected.
And are there a lot of other districts that are doing this?
Many other districts that are doing this. Yeah.
Do we have a number? In
Out of the
Massachusetts?
351, no, I mean, you'd have to go on every individual school. There's no searchable, that's not the searchable item in a database of what schools in Massachusetts do this. All the schools in the Cape and Island do it. They're all involved in the consortium. And like I said earlier in the presentation, Wareham stands out as a leader in that organization, and that's why we were chosen to have site visits.
Okay.
So that's just in our area that
Okay.
everyone is involved in that. But I mean, certainly doesn't end at Wareham in the Cape. It's all over Massachusetts, but all over the country.
All right, thank
Could
you.
I, Mike, you've been involved with this for quite a while. Would you have any guess on how many schools in the Commonwealth are involved?
Well, only through the Boston Ivy program, and typically at the elementary level. I mean, there are, I was at a conference at BU a few years ago. There are scads of high schools and quite a few middle schools that have these kinds of relationships. But what's really unusual and rare, and where I think Wareham is out there in the front with only a few districts, is hosting elementary students. And Wendy, what's Shrewsbury, Worcester, Needham, Wareham, what do we have, about half a dozen now?
Yes, yes. On the Cape area alone, we have Sandwich, Wareham, Monomoy is on board, and February, Nashville is going to be on board. There will be more, there's a consortium, as Maureen said. All of the school districts within this consortium agreed to do the exchange program.
And their staff members go over as well? Okay. Thank you, sorry.
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I know we need to wrap it up.
Before you do,
Oh, yeah.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I kind of wait and let everybody else go and say what they want to say. I am really impressed with this program. And I remember when Henry decided to propose this and worked with our curriculum director at the time and came in with the Cape Verdean curriculum and sitting in a department meeting saying, what is this all about? And those were the seeds of the program that you have now. It's very impressive. Considering the fact that when Dr. Sylvia and I went to school, went to the same high school, we were happy to see what telephones were, never mind what the internet is. And given communications today, and given the political climate of the world, not just this country, if we don't get involved with global education, we are doing a tremendous disservice to our students. And I'm very happy to see that this is progressing the way it is, especially with China, because they are going to be the force in the future. They already are to some extent, but they are going to be the force. So congratulations with this. Very happy that Mr. St. Julien was here tonight, and thank him for starting this a number of years ago. So thank you.
Oh, so, Mr. Chair, I know we need to wrap it up, but we do
Yes,
have one
please.
student who's promised to keep it under 60 seconds. He's here with his dad. He's a 6th grade student.
Absolutely. Come
could
on
I
down.
have Indiana Troop?
I didn't know it was possible for Indy to talk less than 60 seconds.
He's promised. Talk fast.
So quickly, I just want to, I've hosted in the past about year, I've hosted 3 exchange students. My family and I have hosted 3 exchange students, and that's kind of what got me involved in global education, and I really wouldn't stop being a part of it for anything, because it's such a great experience, and there's so much that I haven't been able to do yet, and global education